like to introduce our speaker today, Reverend Beth Yates. She began her journey as a student and teacher of metaphysics in her early teens, and her journey continues to this day. She attended the chapel as a teenager and grew up in the Memorial Spiritualist Church in Norfolk. Her initial studies in spiritualism paved the way for a deeper exploration of metaphysics and the natural and universal laws. Beth is an ordained minister and a certified medium. She has served the Spiritualist Community as a speaker locally and nationally through the NSAC organization. Her ongoing studies at the Delphi University have further enriched her understanding and expanded her repertoire of metaphysical methods. Please join me in welcoming the Reverend Beth Yates to the podium.
Thank you. It's always an honor to be here. The thought that I was going to be doing the service today, I reached out to my guides and teachers and said, okay, what is it? And they said, prepare. Prepare for what? Just prepare. So, of course, my mind goes through this scenario of ups and downs and slides, and I thought about prepare, the word, preparing, prepared. I thought about the Boy Scouts, be prepared. The Girl Scouts, they're always prepared. And once a Girl Scout, always a Girl Scout. What does it mean? And this is when I started taking the word apart. Prepare. So that means you do something to get ready to do something. And it brought something to mind of, like when I was a child and I was peeling potatoes. I was preparing dinner, but I used a paring knife. Now my mind is spinning. And I thought about so many different things because we all prepare differently for whatever's in front of us. However, there are some methods that kind of break that mold in that how many people uniformly, like everybody else, knows how to perfectly peel a hard-boiled egg? It never works the same way twice, does it? There's YouTubes. There's thousands of YouTubes on how to peel a hard-boiled egg. People are making money off of it. But you have your method, and I have my method. But I also want to go back to those potatoes, because it brought to mind a memory of when I was like 8 years old. And it was probably just about the time my youngest sister was being born, because my grandmother was in the kitchen with me, my mother's mother. And she's the one I'm named for. My full name is Mary Elizabeth, thanks to my grandmother, who was also Mary Elizabeth and known as Mary. But I digress. I had a 5 pound bag of potatoes on the counter in front of me. And when you're raising soon to be 5 children, 2 adults, and you've got other people in the house, you need 5 pounds of potatoes, right? So we just, remember when they came in the paper bags? I just zipped open the bag like Mom taught me, and I pulled out that paring knife, and I started going to town, peeling potatoes. Like they and I, we had something going on that wasn't right. I don't know, because I was tearing them little puppies up. And my grandmother came back behind me and she says, Beth, That's 5 pounds of potatoes, and we need at least 4.5 pounds of those in the boiling water, and not a half a pound of peelings left in the bag. So she showed me by picking up the peelings that were mostly potato and just a skim of skin on it. And she showed me how to use the paring knife. And she says, you just go gently underneath that skin and it will almost come off like paper. And she showed me how to re-peel my peelings so that we did have just about 5 pounds of potatoes in that boiling water. So she taught me that we have to take something away, but when we're taking away too much, go back and look and see if we have slighted ourselves. Did we take away too much? Did we give up too much? Did we overshare, like the abundance of potato peelings? And I thought, okay, that's a good lesson. But then it made me think about my grandmother again, because my grandmother was very resourceful, obviously. She raised 6 kids, by the way, so this was not new to her. She had practiced teaching and reteaching people how to peel potatoes. But she was resourceful and she was creative. And this particular story actually made it to and won a prize in the Virginian Pilot newspaper regarding Thanksgiving. The story goes that one year my grandparents were not able to afford a turkey. So my grandmother, in her wisdom and creativity, she molded this perfectly beautiful meatloaf in the form of a turkey. And they roasted it, and they sat down to Thanksgiving dinner, and everybody thought it looked like a turkey. Hats off to my grandmother. And it went down as the best Thanksgiving that they'd had. And it helped the children remember to change up something. You don't have to always do it exactly like everybody else, because it's not always going to be like everybody else. Again, my grandmother had powers of making things into something new again. And so my grandma was born in the 20s, which means she was raised during some really hard times. And by the time she was 16, 17 years old, she was married to my grandfather, who was a number of years older than she, and he was working the dry docks at the docks and doing things. So he rode a bike to work, and one day he brought home an oak dry sink. You know what that is? It's a little cabinet, not much bigger than what's in front of here, this in front of the podium. It was oak, it was heavy, it had 2 drawers, and had these little doors that open. And he put it on his bike, and he walked it all the way home. Resourcefulness, right? When he got it home, my grandmother said, "What am I going to do with this?" And he said, "I don't know, I just thought it needed a new home." So she took it down to the wood, she varnished it, she cleaned up the metal on the handles and the drawer pulls, and it had a place of honor in the house that I only know that my grandmother ever lived in. And that's where everything lived. That's where the antique lamp lived, the telephone, the phone books. If you needed a notepad, if you needed an ink pen, you go look there in the dry sink. Well, it became the icon of the family. And it's the only thing anybody of 6 children that anybody wanted by the time Grandma passed away. Okay. But what I learned from that remembrance was the transformation. That sometimes we bring home something that doesn't seem to be useful or cared for. And when we find a way to transform it, even if it's within ourselves, information, change, what do we need to do? And then it becomes something that's remarkable, that go-to place. Be prepared made me also think about mustard. My mind just works that way. I remember inheriting from a family member a necklace that had a little mustard seed thing. And so it was like a glass ball with a little mustard seed inside. And I asked about it, and this is, with the faith of a mustard seed, anything can grow. And I thought, well, nothing can grow if it's in this little sealed thing. But yeah, I get it, you know. So I expanded on that. But then I thought, wait a minute, prepared mustard. That means something had to happen to it. So I looked it up, because we've got Google now. Okay. So it's a pretty little flower, and they harvest the mustard seeds, and then they soak them, and they put them through a crushing process. Y'all probably know how mustard's made. I was learning. So if you don't, you know, we're learning together. But the process of becoming mustard means that something had to break down. Do you know they soak it in vinegar? They soak the seeds that crushed in vinegar. And then it goes through some more processing. They might add some salt to it. They might, if you want a sweeter honey, or sweeter mustard, you add some honey to it. If not, you don't. If you want it a little bit more grainy, they leave the grains in it or add more grain to it. You know how they make it yellow? Not only because it is yellow, but they enhance the yellow with turmeric. So it's got some healthy qualities, right? That's prepared mustard. It had to be broken down and something added and brought into it. And something that made it good and palatable is something that usually we use to clean and break away from, and that's vinegar. So something's going to come in and take us and wrench us around just a bit before we fully become what it is that we're becoming. And you know, I had to take it just a little bit deeper. Because in my day job working for a funeral home, I listened to a lot of funeral services, and I thought, wait a minute. I'm hearing, in my Father's house, there are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you, I go to prepare a place for you. Prepare. Okay. I don't think it's mustard, but we'll go with that. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. So the Christ consciousness, we believe in the Christ consciousness, has many, many places and spaces. There are aspects of us that learn everything about being in the physical. And when we no longer can handle the basic understanding, but we explore and go beyond, and we elevate ourselves into that next level of awareness, we've moved up in that mansion. We've moved up into those spaces of consciousness, of awareness. And then we find we're not just preparing ourselves, we're preparing others, we're helping others. We become the resources and the creativity. We have healing things getting ready to happen here at the chapel. We have ordination services. We have transformation. We have transportation, people having the tools to move forward in their lives as we're elevating into another level. That's a structure that stabilizes and brings a purpose. Everybody in this room answered a call. The call was different, but you answered it. Everybody on Zoom, you answered that call as well, because you knew that you were no longer in that shadow or behind that veil. There was something more to this world. And we started exploring the spaces in that mansion. And as we continue to move and learn and elevate and prepare ourselves, remember we're taking that thin potato skin away to reveal the fruit of the potato, the meat of the potato, whatever the potato has to offer us. We are moving into a space where we're not only feeding ourselves, but we're feeding others. We're here in this space, this mansion, bringing light into ourselves so that we may be the structure and that strength for those that we go to work with, for those that call us on the phone and ask us how to make potato salad, or those who say, I'm having a crisis. Can you help me? What we are doing is we are shining our light, and people are finding our light, and they're looking to us. Each and every one of you here. You are the structure that builds that mansion that's ever expanding. And every time you do something that's creative, like making turkeys out of hamburger, you are creating something spacious for somebody else to move into. This upper room, these mansion spaces, these higher elevations of awareness are where we go to find and seek the light. And when we go to find and seek the light opens up to us. It also reveals our shadows, and we work and reflect, and we move those shadows around so that we learn to benefit from them, like reflecting on an 8-year-old peeling potatoes. We learn that there's something more. We learn through the errors of our ways so that we may bring that into an awareness that that's how we can support others through whatever crisis they're going through. We've been there, but we are a part of that expansion of the universe. Because all somebody has to do is ask, and it is given. That's what's in the Word. That's what's in the Bible. That's what brings us all together. We asked for something, and some amazing individual says, let me create a community, the Chapel of Life. Because that will bring people what they need. And then that light will go out into the world and touch people that aren't even in this room, that will listen to the recordings years down. Somebody said, let me be that vehicle. Let me be that light. You are the light. You are the light of the world. You have been preparing for this because somewhere along the way you shoveled something off your shoulders to come into the light. You had to let go of something that was no longer serving you to come into the light, to come into the space. God wasn't just preparing me for this right here. Just that one message to me. The energy of creation has been preparing me many lifetimes, many moments in the spirit realm, many days walking until we get here at this point for this moment. Being able to prepare yourself for what comes next. And we are in an energy now, universally, that says if we just let go of what the past was and no longer repeat the words of the past, whatever brought us down, whatever broke us, if we can stop looking for the eggshells and find the egg and what is in it, and feast on the egg and then move forward, we are expanding and we are creating and we are sending the light out from a different space. We are no longer the people we were 5 days ago, 5 weeks ago, a year ago, 5, 10, 20 years ago. Did you feel like you were 8 years old when I was telling you about peeling potatoes? You're no longer there. We are no longer there. You've worked hard to get here. You've prepared for right here and right now. I pulled out the principles because we believe that soul growth and development are the purpose of life. So whatever anybody's going through, it may look horrific to some person or the person going through it, but the beauty is it's a letting go and an expansion into what they are becoming. Because that's the purpose of life. That's the purpose of being in this mansion. And we believe that the Christ consciousness is the mediator between God and humanity. So we move up into those mansions and we get the information and we work in that space and then we bring it down into humanity. Because we are the Christ consciousness. We are that connection between the realms. Each and every person, whether they're sitting in this room, they're on Zoom, or they're out somewhere else fishing on a dock, they also are Christ consciousness, connected with that same universal force, those universal laws. We prepared, each and every one of us, to be in this time and in this place for this purpose. To be that structure, the light structures that are helping humanity move from the darkness into the light. In that faith of a mustard seed, life changes us and we become the beautiful light that shines throughout all humanity and this universe. And I thank each and every one of you on Zoom and in here for being on my path, as each and every one of you help me prepare for being right here, right now. And I honor each one.